For some of you trying to take empowerment for the first time, yeah? Is that right? Some of you people? Will it be on Zoom as well or only in person? Then we'll go and look. The empowerment coming. Online. But not you have to be here to take the empowerment. Okay. So I think it's good if I talk a bit about the general approach to empowerment. Shall I do that? For those of you who are interested, shall I do that? People on Zoom, shall I do that? Seeing as I can't see most of your faces, I don't know if you agree or not, but never mind, I presume you might. Maybe sitting back with your feet up and popcorn, I don't know. Hope not. Okay, so we are here together to listen. Put the prayer up, please, darling. To listen, think about, analyze, contemplate, take advice. It's all advice. Whether we want to take it or not, that's our business. But it is all given as advice. If it's not, it's just intellectual rubbish, okay? Put the prayer up, please. Thank you. Not hearing, what? Okay, here we go, that's great. So we think, here we go. So we remind ourselves of our reliance on the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. For those of us who are Buddhist, it strengthens that by saying it. And the second one is this altruistic motivation for listening, so we can develop some wisdom, so we can then be of benefit to others. May I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings, okay? Sangye chadang soke chognam la, jang cho badu dagni kyap su chi, dagi chunyen gipe sunam ki, krishola penchir, sangye dropa shog, sangye chadang soke chognam la, jang cho badu dagni kyap su chi, dagi chunyen gipe sunam ki, drola penchir, sangye dropa shog, Sangye chadang soke chognam la, jang cho badu dagni kyap su chi, Yagi Chunyen Gipe Sonam Ki, Dola Penchi Sange Drupa Shog. Okay, thank you so much. Unmute. Okay, I will. Am I not unmuted? No, we don't want that. We have to keep muted. You can hear me, all these people? You can hear me? Put your hands up. You can hear me? Good, okay. 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 So Lama Yeshe said one time, if you take an empowerment, if you feel you're ready for an empowerment, we'll discuss the prerequisites for that, according to Lama Tsongkhapa. He says, don't think you're going to get realizations this life. Because the actual, like the yogis who are actually qualified to get experience from these techniques, I mean, it's the most super advanced level, So he said, don't think you'll get realizations. Just be, when we understand karma, everything stays in the mind. So then we'll realize that that we absolutely need the imprints in our mind to sow the seeds for enlightenment. So by having these empowerments, that's exactly what it does. And so he said, the main thing is to have, he says faith. So think of the word confidence, confide, the Latin word, with faith, with trust, confidence in the teachings. That's the main quality at this level, And this is a big difference for us in the West. We all kind of have this, and it's understandable if we have intellectual knowledge like music and math and IT. Nobody on the planet would go to an IT class of complicated IT or AI stuff and just sit there with no knowledge and just say, oh, good, I'm having the imprints. We don't talk like that, do we? You understand my point? But when we have the view of karma, which is that there's two things about the mind, the way the mind holds information, I find is quite interesting. One is the karmic one, which is sort of qualitative. Everything you think and do and say, based on what you think, produces your future happiness and suffering. And that's the work we have to do. But the other one is that merely the fact of hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, and seeing, or, all the five senses and the mental consciousness, any information that we have ever seen, heard, tasted, touched, and smelled since beginningless time stays in our memory. It's a bare bones thing. It stays in the memory. Well, how marvelous. So one, this creates the cause. What's happening? I have to keep asking me to unmute. But I don't want to unmute because then I'll be a big noise. I don't want to do that. So stop asking me. Now it's gone again. What happened? I don't understand. It's all disappeared again. Good Lord. What happened? It's gone. I have to go back to TNL and get it. Going back. Oh, here it is. Good. Into Zoom. I don't know what happened. There we go. That's it. Good. You know, so the other thing is, so we need the imprints in our mind. And that's how come when you see things or hear things or taste things and it feels familiar and comfortable, it's because you've done it before. You've had it. It's in the mind, you know. You've had it before. You've done it before. You have a connection with it. So what are the prerequisites as far as Tsongkhapa is concerned? Because it's the biggest question we have, of course. You know, we're trying to be serious about our practice. Am I ready, you know? So the 3 prerequisites that Tsongkhapa talks about are very simple. Because the Tantra is like, that's what I always like to call junior school, which is the first scope, middle school, which is, you know, high school, which is the middle scope, university, which is the compassion wing, great scope, and then you've got postgraduate. I mean, it's a really good analogy. I find it very helpful. So Tantra's, you know, postgraduate. So it's pretty obvious. What are the prerequisites for me to go to postgraduate, please, Professor? Well, honey child, junior school, high school, and university. Guess what? You know, it's hardly rocket science. It's obvious. But here they Tsongkhapa puts it slightly differently. There's another way of packaging the Lam Rim, which is called the 3 principal aspects of the path. A slightly different way of packaging. So the first one is called renunciation, which is the first and second scopes, the 2 together, which is the wisdom wing. If you were practicing just the Hinayana path, because these are the teachings we share with the Hinayana path, if you were practicing just those teachings, you'd get renunciation, and then you'd get emptiness, and you'd realize emptiness, and then you'd go into meditation with single point of concentration, realize emptiness, perfect the realization, and then get the hell out of samsara and not come back. You complete the wisdom wing, basically, speaking roughly, you know. But here, the prerequisites for entering into postgraduate, as I like to call it, first is renunciation. What are you renouncing? Suffering and its causes, first and second Four Noble Truths. That means you have to intensely understand karma, understand how you create your own suffering, understand that you are absolutely exhausted by suffering. And we mean here suffering of change, and all pervasive suffering. Pretty intense, the 3 levels of suffering, and you understand them, and you are sick of suffering, which itself is really quite advanced. Most of us aren't sick of suffering. We're only sick of the first kind. We love the second kind, which is the suffering coming from attachment. We don't even think of the third one, you know. We do our best. So the first prerequisite is having at least a semblance of understanding first, and of the wish to have it, an appreciation for this idea, and an understanding. Not just, oh yeah, I like renunciation. What is it? Oh, I don't know. That's stupid. You've got to squeeze your brain. Understanding karma, understanding impermanence, understanding the 3 levels of suffering, understanding the Four Noble Truths. This is clear. From this, you have this earnest wish to get the hell out of suffering. And I think in our culture, we miss this one because we think it sounds selfish, you know. Oh, no, I should have compassion, you know. You've got to have a strong wish to stop your own suffering first. The second prerequisite is basically the next one. High school, university, bodhicitta. The whole of the second wing of the bird, compassion, is the middle, is the great scope. After renunciation, recognizing suffering and its causes, understanding karma, all this business, knowing your mind, understanding attachment, really deep delving deep inner work. Then I can understanding everybody's in the same boat. Compassion for others, all of them. And the third one, of course, is the 6th perfection. Wisdom, emptiness. These are the prerequisites, which is essentially the Lam Rim. They're the prerequisites. So don't expect to have a realization of them. No, that's not the prerequisite. It's an appreciation for them, which means you've squeezed your brain and understand them. You've got some level of renunciation, some level of wanting to get bodhicitta, and some level of understanding and wanting to understand emptiness. They're the prerequisites. They're the prerequisites. And so probably by this point, you would have taken refuge, you would have taken the 5 lay vows, and you might have taken the bodhisattva vows by now. All the more the better. Fantastic. You've got to ground and have a good practice, disciplined practice, morning and night, with keeping your vows and purification. Then you're ready, And it would be too, because of having confidence in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, also, it doesn't say it like that, but it means it. You're close to your teachers because they're the ones who make the Dharma living for you. You see, we tend to think, there's Buddha, and then Guru is sort of this weird person in the present day, but Buddha's the real one. Well, who do you think Buddha was back then? Buddha, you see, the fact it's very important to remember that Buddha is actually the Dharmakaya. That's the meaning, the actual meaning of the word, is the mind of a person who has got rid of the delusions and got all the virtue to perfection. And that is the mind, the Dharmakaya. The Dharmakaya, the name given to the subtle, all-pervasive, all-knowing, all-compassionate, all-powerful mind of a Buddha. No, it's not manifesting. They don't need Buddha, the bodies. They've gone well beyond bodies, But what drove a person to become a Buddha is compassion for others. So even the lowest level bodhisattva, has realized emptiness, Arya beings, have already got the capability to manifest their mind in 100 different bodies simultaneously for the sake of sentient beings. So we can't access, ordinary sentient beings can't possibly access the mind of a Buddha. It's impossible. That's why they manifest in bodies. So there's 2 bodies the Buddha manifests in. And the one we're discussing here for refuge is the Nimanakaya, the emanation body, which basically is, any form at all. The Buddha can already can conjoin their mind with wherever the 4 elements are. Wherever there are the 4 elements, the Buddha's mind can conjoin with that and manifest as a bridge, a tree, a toilet, a dog, a human. There are trillions of Nimanakayas manifesting all over the world, helping sentient beings. Of course, we don't recognize them. Then you have what they call the, what do they call it? Supreme Nimanakaya. Is that what they call it? Isn't it? No. The Supreme Nimanakaya, which is the Buddha of that time. And in our case, Shakyamuni Buddha, Mr. Shakyamuni Buddha, the former prince, he is the supreme Nimanakaya in this world who manifests as a Buddha, who shows the aspect of a Buddha. So back at the time of India, this is the whole point. So Buddha is the mind. So you wouldn't recognize even if they did come into a body. So you see, when we go, there's Buddha. We see the statue of this man with curly hair and his long earlobes. Oh, there's Buddha. But back at the time in India, think about it. The place was crawling in sadhus with their nice yellow robes. You wouldn't have known a Buddha from anybody else. So that's why they call him Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. He was the guru of then. He was the guru of then. A human being. Buddha, by definition, can't be a human being. Human being is a regular form out of samsara, within samsara, due to karma. Buddha doesn't need a body. He's way beyond bodies, babe. So he manifests consciously in a body that's suitable for sentient beings. So that human, technically, if he's a Buddha, he's not a human being. By definition, he's manifesting as a human because that's what we recognize. He looks like us and sounds like us. How kind. So he was the guru of then. And just like now, you listen, you think about it, you check on them, you see if they're valid, you listen to their words, you check their students, you check their reputation, and then you decide you're going to follow what they say. That's exactly what Buddha said at the time. No difference. So he was the guru of then. We think, he's Buddha, and everybody else is just pretending. No, not like that. So that's the Nimanakaya. Why am I telling us this? I forget now. We'll wander off somewhere. So, confidence. So now our guru of this time isn't Shakyamuni. As Lama Yeshe says, Buddha is dead. Fact. He's dead. So the Four Noble Truths, he says, will only be real for you when you hear it from the mouth of the Guru now. It's exactly the same. Shakyamuni Buddha back then and the person we see as the Buddha now, same. Because the fact is, they all say he was the Buddha, but you can't prove it. By definition, you cannot. Because if you could, you're also Buddha. So you've got to use your noggin and have inferential certainty by checking, listening, blah, blah, blah. You know, the same the present day, Dalai Lama is said to be a Buddha. How can we say? We all go, oh, yeah, he must be a Buddha because he makes us feel good, you know. That's no criterion. Hitler people made people feel very good. So you check on the qualities and then you practice. And it's exactly the same time at the time of the Buddha, but you would never have known he was the Buddha. You can't prove he was the Buddha. This is the interesting point. So you would have to have the same confidence then by doing your checking to develop the faith and confidence that he was the Buddha. And so that's exactly what we're doing now with our lamas, you know. Having confidence that he's the Buddha. And then from this, all the blessings come because your mind is wide open. So that's the added piece, I'd say, here to the three prerequisites, you know. Because when you can see living examples, if Geshe Sharab was one of your lamas, for example, or your lama, then you see this example, you know, and it gives you incredible confidence. That's what we need. We need that badly, you know. So then now the thing is, because you're going to take highest yoga empowerment from Rinpoche, this lama, I don't know him. He's Geshe-la's lama, is he? What's his relationship to Rinpoche Geshe-la? You're not sure? That's his main teacher, his main guru. Is he the same lama that was in Connecticut? Not that one, he's different. Is he the same guru that went to Kadampa Center? Not that one. He's the same one, isn't he? Geshe? Yeah, but is it the same lama who gave the initiations recently at Kadampa Center? Is he the same lama as Geshe Gelek there? Not that one, different. Sorry? That was him. Well, this is this one. So he's a Sarah J lama, this one. So Geshe Sharab must have studied with him at Sarah J. Is he Ken Rinpoche or is he a Ken? So he's abbot of where? Don't know.
Sarah J.
He's Sarah J's abbot. Or is it past Sarah J's abbot? Which one is he?
Past.
You should have all this information on your website. What does it say then? I better look. Oh, TNL. What does it say? How do I find it? What? Teachers page, okay. Teachers, community, giving, about us. There's no teacher there. About us, program calendar, faculty, giving, teacher, or faculty. He's there, is he? You sure? Let's have a look. Can't see him. Doesn't come. So where does it show the Geshe Sharab? It's not there. It says Geshe Sharab teachers. He's a bit hidden there. You got to. Where do you see his? Where do you see the event? Okay, I have to. Huh? Calendar. I've got to look at the calendar. Okay. What date is it? The initiation? June. Okay. Does it? Okay. This week? No. June 24. How do I go to June? Here we go. Cancer Michelle. Okay. Jetson. Lobsang. Oh, here we go. Okay, now let's have a look. It's a bit touchy. Okay. Jetson Lobsang Delek began his monastic journey at 8-7 in Tibet. Keeps moving. I'm not even touching it. Can't read it now. It's too small. Receiving ordination under continuous studies in India. Establish of Sarah. Studies. Earning his Karam and Laram. Appointed by His Holiness Abbot of Gyumay. Okay, he was a tantric abbot. And Serme, and Segu Monastic Institute Segu. What's Segu? What's Segu? Never heard of it. Extending his, okay, to Sarah J. Monmouth, extending his leadership. What does it mean? I don't know what Segu, Monastic Institute of Buddhist Studies, means. I've never heard of it. That's very strange. I don't know what that means. You should check up. Despite administrative, he remains dedicated to teaching. Okay, fine. So he's, but Khenso, there's former abbot and then there's abbot. So Khenso is former. Okay, so he's a former tantric abbot, because after they do their Geshe studies, they get to go off and do their 2 years in the tantric monastery. So he must have done that. So he's a former abbot of Gyume, which is the tantric monastery that our lamas go to. Leave meeting. No, I want to. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that's who he is. So okay, so so that means if we're going to take an empowerment. So Geshe has invited him to give this empowerment. All right, Yamantaka. So he's giving you classes about this, right? He's taught you all about this, has he? That's good. What can I say then? I'll just say from my own experience the way to approach it all. Okay, because it is so advanced, and that's not being clever. It's just advanced. It's highly sophisticated psychology, extraordinarily sophisticated philosophy, incredibly subtle, incredibly amazing. And so it's astonishing that it's available to us. That's what's incredible. So that with incredible confidence in our teachers and confidence in the Dharma and with the 3 prerequisites, we do it with confidence and keep it as, so what's Geshe, what's Geshe Rinpoche asking you to do? Just a succession, not the Yamataka Sadhana, and the short, commitment. Okay, so I want to say this, and okay, what I want to talk about is this then. Okay. Like Lama Zopa says, don't even expect to get realizations, but be happy that you're engaging in it, because you're putting the imprints in your mind. You're putting the seeds of all these there's 4 main initiations. In these highest ones, it's actually really, I think it's an empowerment, and there are many, many initiations within the empowerment. So the very first one is called the vase initiation. There's a whole series of, that takes up 2/3 of the whole ceremony, frankly, I think. There's a whole series of initiations there. I don't even know the meaning of them. Vase, crown, the guru, the this, the that. They come around, they bonk things on your head, and they give you this, and you open your eyes, you close your eyes, you put a red thing over, you take the red thing off. It's really kind of incredibly fascinating if you don't know it, but you just follow, and you're happy to do it like little girls and boys following mummy, I swear to you. And you're really happy to be there, if you have this confidence in that there's an amazing system, these amazing people coming out of this amazing system, So the main quality is to be confident, to have confidence in these people. It's like a humility, being so glad that you're allowed into this incredible, amazing series of practices. You take it very seriously. You don't just rabbit on about it. You never talk about it. You never, unless you know one other person who's also there, you might talk to each other. But you never say, oh, yeah, I did a Yamataka initiation last week. Wow, it was amazing. The Lamas, wow. It's disgusting to talk like this. I beg you not to talk to anyone. Keep it really private. Your practice really, really private, This is so important. Then you treasure it even more, So the key quality in relating to the Dharma, your lamas, is what they call keeping your word of honor, keeping your pledges, keeping your Samaya, keeping your commitments, having this attitude of appreciation and its devotion and humility, amazed by this extraordinary system and being so happy to be part of it, but keeping exactly what you've agreed to do. It's really like you've written a contract, We take contracts very seriously in our culture. Well, this is a contract. These lamas and they will never offer this from their own side. We've requested, Geshe thinks it's time, he's requested. So this kind lama will come here and will give this. So they do their job, and then we will do our job as the disciple. Kind of shake hands. And he says, I want you to do this and this and this. And you decide, yes, I'm going to do this and this and this. You agree. No one's forcing you. Be a grown-up. You are agreeing. It's a dependent arising. It's a 2-way thing, You do your job, they do their job. And then everything will work beautifully. And for me, it's logical that keeping your Samaya, keeping your vows pure, which means you need to know them, keeping your word. There's 2 things. There's a commitment. There's various commitments to do things, a promise, a commitment. And then there are vows, which is the decision to refrain from things, you know. So often it's so complex and there's so much there. So what I've done, I see that all the information is available on the FPMT website, but what I've done over the last many years is cobble it all together and put it into one document. And I've sent this to Nina, both as a PDF to read on your phone. It's about 600 pages, okay? And then one to read on the A5. And it's all listed. I try to put it in order because I realize we don't know half the things we're committed to. It's really confusing. And you don't be overwhelmed by it. You want to know it all. I remember years ago in Kurukula Institute in Boston, they'd just taken empowerment from His Holiness. And they just said to me, can we go through this together? Help us go through. I'm like, what do I know, you know? But we went through. And every I say, well, you're committed to do this, committed to do that. And this woman in the back who's been doing for 30 years, oh, I didn't know I was committed to do this. Oh, I didn't know I was committed to do that. So I realized I better put it all together, you know? And we haven't got it all together. It's not. Got to go find this one here and that one there and this one there. So there's a whole bunch of things. So these PDFs are put together. It includes all your commitments in relation to refuge, the lay vows, all the bodhisattva vows with commentary from Alex Berzin, who's an amazing source, and another small commentary that was given personally to somebody, which I transcribed from another wonderful Lama Yeshe Sencham Rinpoche. So 2 different versions of bodhisattva vows and interpretations of them. It's really important you know those, you know, and then the tantric vows, again, commentary from Alex Berzin. And Alex Berzin, really, I can say you can trust him as an amazing source, you know. He's an extraordinary person with this amazing website that's just full of information. He's always so accurate. He's very precise and very accurate. So all of this is there, plus a series of practices, the 6-session Guru Yoga, the long one and the short one, with different headings so you know what you're doing, and then a wonderful commentary by Lama Zopa on the 6-session Guru Yoga, a wonderful commentary by Lama Zopa on Tsog offering, and then the Vajrasattva Tsog that Lama Yeshe wrote us 40 years ago, which is beautiful, very short Tsog offering. With Yamataki, you're not committed to do Tsog. If it's Mother Tantra, you are. But there's a very short one there that Rinpoche put together. And then there's the 50 verses of Guru devotion, which is beautiful to study. It's all there together in these PDFs, okay? And then the very beginning is a list of every single thing we're committed to. There's about a list of 17 or 18 things. Don't be overwhelmed by it. It's important because whenever you do anything, you have to commit to certain things and know what you're doing. And knowing what you're doing makes us feel a lot better, you know? Do you understand? So you do it with faith. Just you keep the best you can. Don't agonize, oh, I've got no realizations, I can't visualize. Of course you can't. Don't worry about it. So you tick the boxes. I do this, and you keep it. You can do really short, doesn't matter. There's even a 6-session Guru Yoga that the Lamas have written because we're all so lazy. There's one verse, just one, not 9, which is the longer one takes 20 minutes. The 9 verses can take 3 minutes. You even got one that's 1 verse to keep your commitment. So you keep this, and keeping a commitment is very obvious. You know, it seems to be sort of logical. You go to a doctor and they give you medicine, they give you advice, and you keep the advice, and you keep, guess who's going to benefit? And then you go back next time. Have you taken your medicine? Nah. Did you do the things I said? No. Well, why would they bother with you anymore? You're cutting the connection. It's not superstitious, it's logical. But if you do your commitments, keep it purely. And then the devotional component is keeping the lamas in your heart. We've got human hearts. As Lama Yeshe says, we're dying for love, you know. We've got human hearts. And devotion is the most lovely word. People say, oh, she's devoted to her children, devoted to her poodle. I mean, it could be mixed with attachment, sure. Devotion is a wonderful quality. Your little heart is open. When your heart is open, it comes flooding in, you know. It's so logical. And then it enriches your practice. You do your practice every day. Short or long, doesn't matter. You keep your word of honor and you feel so good about it, you know. I remember the Dalai Lama's mother saying, when I do my practice in the morning, I feel so good because now I've got it done, you know. We all feel that, you know. You feel burdened if you don't do it properly and you forget it, then you're half asleep at night, going to sleep doing your practice. Be happy about it. And keeping that link with the lamas, with the holy beings, so your heart is open so you get the blessings. Blessing's not mysterious. You know, you get the blessing. That's the key thing. So right now, one of my jobs I'm having to do, I'm working for FPMT office now, training people. Because Nick Rebush at Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive, who, as you know maybe, has been for 40 years, 30 years, holding the archive of all of Lama Yeshe and all of Lama Zopa's teachings. But now he wants to focus on doing Lama Yeshe's teachings, excuse me. So he's given the archive of Lama Zopa over to the PMT office, the education department. Nina's husband, Jeff, runs it. And so now I'm working for them, well, volunteering, and I'm in charge of training people. And I mean, Nick always felt that you couldn't train anybody. Well, I'm opposite. I think you can train anybody. So I've got a list. We need about 10 people. I've got many more. So by the way, if you want to learn to transcribe in Lama Zopa, come to see me. Many people won't like to do it, but it's a very difficult job, but there's masses of stuff to do. So what I'm getting at is, what was I getting at? Faith and devotion. Oh yeah, I said to all the people, because sometimes they go, oh, I've been transcribing this, I'm an editor of this, and I've done this, I've got a degree in that. I said, I don't care. I want you to keep your Samaya. And I'm very blunt. If you don't keep your Samaya, go away. Because if you keep your Samaya, you're pure. Whoever you're devoted in, some of them don't know Lama Zopa, but they keep their practices and they've got faith, then they'll be able to hear Lama Zopa's teachings. Do you understand my point? It's sort of logical. That's my main quality, I said to them. One of the people I know, some people transcribe my stuff. I can't help it. Some people like me. What can I do? I don't try to make them like me. I'm rude. I can't help it. Whenever this particular person who does, she likes to do it. She's a welder. She's this working class girl with zero education, and she hears the teachings perfectly. So you don't need to be some smarty pants college person, you know. You understand me? Your Samaya is the main thing. Keep your practices. Keep it alive, and that's what keeps us nourished. That nourishes our heart and keeps it alive for us, you know. So important. That's to me the most important thing. So, yeah, maybe even you don't have to ask. I mean, Geshe-la's already teaching you so many things, but maybe don't it because of this PDF with all the stuff in it. Not because I did it, but it is all there together, all coming from the right sources. It's so good you have groups maybe to talk about it all together. Just go through, you know. There's masses of stuff there, but it's so delicious and so enriching if you really take it seriously and study it. The Bodhisattva vows, the refuge, and the Bodhisattva vows, and the Tantric vows. And Burzen's so good at that because he's a modern person, you know, really helping us understand all these things. So helpful. Knowing what we're doing helps. Then you have faith in these abstract, esoteric practices. That's fine, you know, just do the practice. And as Lama Zopa says in his book, How to Face Death Without Fear, which we're going to discuss this weekend, there's one wonderful chapter in there called Death is What the Yogis Have Been Waiting For. So basically it's Rinpoche talking about how all these sadhanas, especially the highest yoga tantra, because they are the practices, and Lama Yeshe talks about this in his Bliss of Inner Fire book, that actually according to the Vajrayana, you can't get enlightened until you've done highest yoga tantra. Because in those initiations, the vast initiation, the secret, the wisdom, and the word, these 4 initiations divided into many, these are all the tools we need in order to get the mind to the subtlest level, to achieve all the realizations. Each one of these, you know, purifies different aspects of things and qualifies us to different levels. It's incredibly marvelous. You know, Lama talks about this, and Rinpoche talks in his book, the death book, that death is what the yogis have been waiting for. These greatest yogis spending all their lives getting concentration and doing their sadhana. And these sadhanas, like Yamantaka, he mentions it, many of the longer sadhanas are the only ones that include all the components, all the right steps. But he says even the short Yamantaka has all the steps to do to transform death into the Dharmakaya, bardo into the Sambhogakaya, and rebirth into the Nirmanakaya. And these are the steps we need to go through. So these great yogis, these sadhanas are constructed, Rinpoche says this, in such a way that it replicates that process of getting enlightened, transforming into all the 3 kayas. It's got all the steps we need that are necessary. And it's even in the short Yamantaka sadhana. And so he says, he quotes Sirkam Rinpoche, one of his gurus, we must do the 3 kaya meditation. So if you've been through, you'll go through the 6 session, I'm sure with Geshe-la, or maybe Tenzin Rinpoche will do it, and maybe Dundra will go through it. But at some point, you know, any of these sadhanas, at some point, you bring the guru from out there and you dissolve inside, you dissolve into, and that's where you do this process of becoming the Buddha. That's the generation stage. And these sadhanas are constructed in such a way that every time you do it, you are creating the cause to be the Buddha. And these yogis spent all their lives, and now they're ready. They can't wait for death. Why? It's because the mind is the subtlest at death. It's the subtlest. The Dharmakaya is the subtlest, and they're ready for it, you know. And Lama talks about this in The Bliss of Inner Fire. So they're so wonderful, these practices. Of course, they're esoteric. Of course, they're like another world for us, you know. But so therefore, let's just talk roughly about these three kayas, right? So when we, you know, we can see, can't we, that we have a mind, we have a body, and we have speech, and we have environments. We don't just float in the sky, do we? So this is the karma of being a human. We have this very gross level body, like a bag of bones, with the gross sensory consciousness, the gross objects of the senses in this gross environment. And then we have speech. So the three kayas, the Dharmakaya purifies the mind, the Nimanakaya purifies the body, and the Sambhogakaya purifies the speech. So a pure land is the environment of a Buddha. So what a Buddha is, the Dharmakaya, I mean, these words means truth body, whatever, you know, Dharmakaya. It's referring to the actual enlightened mind that's not physical, that's completely developed, is pervading the universe, has infinite wisdom that sees all the minds of all beings, all past, all present, all future, all their karma, has infinite compassion, and has infinite power. That's the Dharmakaya. Now, out of compassion, they manifest in bodies for our benefit. And there's two bodies, there's two kinds. The grosser one, the Nimanakaya, Mr. Shakyamuni Buddha in the human form, or our Lama in the human form now, one we can see and hear. And then in Tantra, basically Tantra, there's the other one, the enjoyment body, the Sambhogakaya, the subtle light body. So it's just this very sophisticated, but we talked about it, I think. There's not that many deities here. There's Chen Raising. Who's that? That's Tsongkhapa again. Where's Tara? And we got Tara somewhere? No, we haven't. There's Medicine Buddha. There's Guru Rinpoche. We've got no Tara. I thought we had one up here somewhere. What happened to it? No. What happened to these two hooks? Weren't there tankas here? Where are they? What? They what? They just disappeared. Well, Dondrup's in charge of the Gompa. He should know. You're the boss here, babe. Venerable babe. Anyway, all these, so basically, roughly speaking, and this is sort of rough, you've got Shakyamuni Buddha. You've got like a family tree thing, you know, like a kind of graph, you know, a little kind of thing. You've got Buddha, Dharmakaya, which is the mind. Then you've got go down and you've got two. You've got the Nimanakaya, which is Shakyamuni Buddha, which is effectively the sutra approach. And then across here, you've got Vajradhara, or in Tibetan, Dorji tongue. I know I always say this. When I first went to the Dharma, went to Courtin, after I'd met the Lamas in Australia, and then I went to Courtin to become a nun, and I walked straight into the kind of publishing room and was doing all the typing and the gestetnering, old-fashioned days, you know, gestetner and Roneo before photocopy machines, doing all the prayers. And I kept coming up with this person called Vajradhara, and I liked his name. And I kept coming up with a person called Dorji Tongue, and I was so happy to hear it was the same person. There's one Tibetan and one Sanskrit, right? I was so excited. I didn't know who he was. I said to Lama, who's Dorji Tongue, Lama? And of course, he's so kind. He doesn't give all these fancy answers. Oh, the biggest Buddha, dear, he said. And I was so proud I liked the biggest Buddha, you know. I was so excited. And I'd look at his tanka. I had no idea who he was. But he's the generic form of Buddha in Tantra. And so Six-Session Guru Yoga is a sadhana of him. You don't ever take him as your yidam. You don't take him as your yidam, but he's the generic form of Buddha in Tantra, which is that Sambhogakaya form, which is the Bodhisattva style, not the monk style. If you think of Shakyamuni, look at that manifestation. Complete subduing of the body, speech, and mind. That's what a monk indicates. That's the first scope and second scope, isn't it? That's a renunciation model. But then Tantra, this whole different kettle of fish, where you're utilizing all the delusions and you're generating joy and bliss and energizing the senses, basically, in Tantra. So Dorji Tongue looks divine, this divine being, dark blue, sometimes with his wisdom mother, sometimes not, you know. He's like the biggest Buddha, as Lama calls, in the Gelugpas. In the Nyingmapas, they talk about, what's his name? I can't think of the name. They have different styles and different traditions. So ours, the boss Buddha in Tantra is, so you have this little thing. You have Shakyamuni, you have Dharmakaya, goes down to two. Shakyamuni, Nimanakaya, Vajradhara, Sambhogakaya. Then under him, the 5 Buddha families. And each of those Buddhas, and there's a lovely teaching in there by Lama Zopa and by Alex Berzin about the 5 Buddha families in those course notes I've given you, you know, that you'll get from Nina or somebody. And so there, you know, for example, Amitabha is a purified aspect of attachment. And all the hundreds of deities under him in that family, it's like Tara's in that family, Chenrezig's in that family, Vajrayogini's in that family. Family just means there's different psychological models, different qualities, you know, that we're trying to. So in Sutra, you're just trying to subdue your body, speech, and mind. That's it. Here, you bring the whole lot in and you're trying to subdue attachment. So you use Vajrayogini. She's the purified aspect of a desire. Use Yamantaka. You know, he's the purified aspect of anger, I think, and you'd scare the life out of him if you met him in a human form. He'd terrify you. And Akshobhya is the purified anger. Ratnasambhava's purified, is he the green one or the yellow one? Who's yellow? The green one is a purified jealousy. And there's what purified ignorance. So it's this delicious kind of psychology. The 5 families, they're just these purified aspects of the different delusions, you know. And under all of those are the other hundreds of different Buddhas. And then we all eventually develop a connection with one of them as our yidam, our own personal yidam. And the way you recognize your yidam is you recognize your garbage. If you've got attachment, mostly Vajrayogini is your baby, your lady, you know. Or it could be the male form. So you can be a male and have Vajrayogini as your deity. So Geshe Lama Kontrog, one who lived in Vajrayogini's land in the mountains, who went off naked, living in his cave day and night, no food, no sleep, no anything, naked, lived in Vajrayogini's pure land. But somebody else, a female, will have maybe Haruka Chakra as her yidam. You can have a wrathful deity as your yidam. You can be boy or girl, doesn't matter. They're all representations of different qualities, you know. So it's very delicious. Yamataka's got a special connection with us Gulupas. He's the wrathful aspect of Manjushri. And Tsongkhapa that's his main one, you know. And they often talk about these, our lamas, like His Holiness, there's 3 main deities. There's Father Tantra, Mother Tantra, and they call non-dual. So Father Tantra is Guya Samadhi. He's like the boss one. That's His Holiness. That's his yidam, apparently. Then you've got Ling Rinpoche. He is Yamantaka. Then you've got Trijang Rinpoche, and he is Haruka Chakra Mother Tantra. So Yamantaka is not the Mother Tantra. Yamatakas, I think they call sometimes non-dual. And these are more to do with particular techniques in the practices, you know. So the Mother Tantra emphasizes more the development of the clear light, and the Father Tantra emphasizes more the development of the illusory body. All these different Buddhas, you know. So Dharmakaya is the mind. Sambhoga, so the one form Buddha relates to, manifesting, as I said, is one look like you and me, the Nirmanakaya, Shakyamuni. The other one, Sambhogakaya, that's only visible to the body, the Arya bodhisattvas. We can't see them. We haven't accessed our subtle mind. We haven't got realizations, you know. So the Arya bodhisattvas, those who realize emptiness, they can cognize that form. Tsongkhapa saw directly the Sambhogakaya form of Manjushri and received all his teachings from him directly in the Sambhogakaya form. Apparently when Kadra, you know, Kadra came from Tibet when she was a little girl, she came over the mountains to meet His Holiness, you know, she's determined to meet him, but she's this little girl. Who's going to pay attention to little girls? Nobody, you know. So whenever she'd see His Holiness, she'd see the Sambhogakaya, so she'd faint. People thought she was this wacky little thing, you know. She was desperate to have a meeting with His Holiness. Somehow she had to, but she wanted to offer this huge long life puja. Lama Zopa said she was born as Vajrayogini, fully developed, you know, didn't need to study. So she finally had a meeting with Kirti Sentam Rinpoche. And he, of course, recognized who she was. He said, I will build a golden bridge between you and His Holiness. So then she met His Holiness, and he told his monks to do everything she says. She's a little girl, you know. I mean, maybe 20 or something, 16 or something. But she went to some local cave where Talopa used to be, and she asked the monks to give her a container. She picked up a rock, and she squeezed it, and this yellow nectar came out, and she offered it to His Holiness at the long life puja, and he drank the lot. Anyway, she saw the Sambhogakaya, you know. She's a holy being. So the Sambhogakaya is this subtle light body. So that also is a body, and there's speech. So speech is the one of the Sambhogakaya. Speech is the one that's purified by the Sambhogakaya, you know, the secret initiation. The body is purified by the vase initiation. The mind is purified by the wisdom initiation. And then you completely purify the two truths in terms of Tantra with the word initiation, you know. So anyway, the Dharmakaya manifests in these two forms, Sambhogakaya for the great Arya Bodhisattvas, and this is all the Tantric deities. So we have to imagine them, you know. So of course, because they're manifesting in the subtle light body, they need an environment. They don't just hang out in the sky either. That's where all these pure lands come in, you know. When you read the Sadhana, like in Yamataka 2, you know, you visualize all this mandala and there's this and there's that and there's something with pillars and you have this complicated environment. The mandalas show that environment. They're like mandalas are those round things. They're just like architectural drawings of the Buddha's abode. And each of those pure lands is according to the deity. So the wrathful ones have skeletons and cemeteries and wrathful beings and zombies, and it's like outrageous, you know. The pure ones, Tenraj has lovely light things and dainty and delicious. All according, I mean, such brilliant psychology. I mean, it's just so delicious, you know. So these sadhanas are you practice. First, you see the Buddha out there, then you absorb them inside you, and then you dissolve into emptiness, going through the 8 stages, combining it with the 8 stages of death, and then you purify each of those stages, and then you do the visualization of yourself. You manifest as a deity, and then you visualize that Pure Land. So all that's putting imprints into your mind every day. And guess what? It creates the course to achieve it. So you do your best, you know. I mean, most of us can't visualize. I had a friend in prison, this former Mexican, he's not former Mexican, he is Mexican, but a former gangster. And I wrote to him one time and I said, tell me your practice exactly. So he wrote 7 pages. He visualized the entire merit field. He explained exactly as if it were the most natural thing on the world. I mean, I was prostrating to him. The entire merit field, all the deities, this Lama, he had a dream of this one, so he put that Lama in there. He read this Lama's book, so he put that one in there. He wrote so innocently about it. This dude had been a gangster, you know. I was so blown out, I couldn't believe. And he had no idea because he has no community in prison. He just thought this is normal. I was gobsmacked, I tell you. Most of us can't visualize anything. You understand? You do your practice, you read your Sadhana for 37 years, you still don't know what you're saying, you forget it. It goes in one ear and out the other. I couldn't believe this man. Unbelievable. Henry. I hope he's getting out soon. He's been there for like 30 years. He's incredible. He's just got his master's in something and he's this and that. And he's relaxed, easygoing, you know. Oh, one step at a time, he said, I'm ready for it. Incredible man. Anyway, visualizing, you know, so you read all the words. I mean, I did a retreat one time when I was very sick. I don't like doing retreats. I'd rather work. What to do. So anyway, I got hepatitis and malaria one year in India, in Delhi. I got 110 degrees in the summer, you know, and I got hepatitis and malaria together. Because I was bright yellow, no one recognized the malaria. You understand? So I kept having these fevers after fevers. Usually with malaria, with hepatitis, you get fever for like a week and then it stops. But I was going week after week in this house with no AC, 100 degrees, 110 degrees, hallucinating. I didn't know I was Arthur or Martha. We say that in Australia. I didn't know what I thought I'd burst into flames. I'd be under the cold shower. I was hallucinating, you know. And then someone saw me and recognized malaria straight away. So I knew I had to get, Courtin said I was close to death. I knew I had to get back to Australia somehow. So I called my sister, who flew all the way from Brisbane to Singapore just to pick me up, you know. And Air India at the time let me fly bright yellow. I couldn't believe it, you know. And I got to Singapore. And I remember that time, in one of the stages of death, the very first stage, when the earth starts to go, you feel like you're sinking. Well, I had that experience in this bed in Singapore. But I remember the air conditioning. I'll never forget, as long as I live, this air conditioning. It was like heaven, but I was sinking into the bed. You know, I went to my sister's house, and then and Lama Zopa said I should do retreats. So I did 2 of my commitments, you know, 3 months altogether. And don't do these meditations. They're so complicated. These visualizations, I mean, Yamataka's got 47 arms, you know, or 34 or something, all holding different things. They all mean something, but it's so complex. And it's incredibly sophisticated. So I tried to do it really seriously. It wasn't that one, it was other deities, doesn't matter. But it was like intensely exhausting, reading all these words, trying to visualize, trying to remember. 3 months, I was so rigorous, but it was exhausting because I'd rather do editing any day, you know? You understand? But I tried to do it properly, and I did enjoy it. And I lost about 25 pounds because I lost my appetite. Anyway, I'm just telling blah, blah. Anyway, so these are the three kayas, and these sadhanas are integrated with the 8 stages of death, which is the way of go through the stages of deconstruction. You get to the very subtle level, the clear light, and that's where you become the Dharmakaya. So you say, and there's even a way when you meditate, you say, I am the Dharmakaya. This is the nature of bliss. It is empty, and this is me. And you meditate on emptiness there, and imagine you're purifying the Dharmakaya. And then you manifest as if it's in the intermediate state, and now you become the Sambhogakaya, and then you manifest as a Nimanakaya. So it's a whole way of using these 3 stages, and Yamataka has it. Lama Zopa says even the short one has it. Which is so special because most of the short sadhanas don't have it, don't have all those steps. So it's so auspicious, you know. So if you want to, you should read Lama Yeshe's book, Introduction to Tantra. It's so helpful, down to earth, very down to earth, helping you a little bit understand these 3 kayas, you know, very simply. Anyway, I just want to say a few words. So any questions, people? And don't even pretend to think you're qualified to do Tantra. No, I can't visualize. Don't worry about it. Just do it with faith. Read the words. Have a happy mind. Do it. Put the imprints in. Be happy. Be humble. Just do it properly. But really, people now with Zoom, unfortunately, take it so, it's so degenerate. Oh, I think I'll have this initiation. Then they forget all about it and just, excuse me, to piss their merit down the toilet. It's so disgusting, you know. To take it really seriously. Not obsessively seriously, but genuinely, humbly seriously. Are there any questions from anybody, please? Yes, Beth has a question. Yes, Beth.
Hello, Venerable. Thank you for your teaching. You know, before you were talking about Samaya.
I can't hear the question, Beth, darling. I'm so sorry.
You know, you were talking about Samaya before.
Yes.
Like, how literal do we have to take that?
Well, give an example. I mean, literal is best according to your, you know, if you read this list of commitments, you do your best to keep them. You do your best sincerely to do all the things that you've committed to do. That's all. Do your best according to your capacity.
Do you remember ages ago you told me I had to go to bed before midnight?
I can't hear you very well, Beth. I'm so sorry. Speak more clearly, sweetheart.
Do you remember ages ago you told me I had to go to bed before midnight?
Oh, I see.
And it's now 3 a.m.
I know you're a naughty girl. No, we've already discussed it, Beth. It's okay if you know, I did suggest you should go to bed because you'd like to sit up late at night, you know. So she takes my word seriously. So is she breaking into Samaya? No, because we've discussed it and I said it's okay.
Oh, okay.
So I know you're up at 3 in the morning in England.
Okay. So it's
you know, you do, and the thing is, if there's something I mean, there's somebody else I know, you know, who's really serious, like, you know, Jamie, Beth, you know him. He's really like, he's terrified he'll do the wrong thing. But you just got to be reasonable. If the Lama says do this and that, and you think you can't, you just say, I can't do that one. You be reasonable. You be intelligent about it. You don't be fanatic. You know, don't get scaredy, baby. All right.
I haven't told you how, like.
I can't hear you, darling.
But I hadn't told you about it before. I mean, you know, because you told me that I'm not allowed to email you past a certain time, and I always do.
Do what?
I always email you past the time that you told me not to.
I know. Did you just hear me say that I've given you permission?
Okay, I didn't know that.
Did you hear me say that? And we've done that. We've said that. Beth, we've discussed this ages ago.
Did we?
All is good, darling.
Okay, thank you, beautiful. Thank you so much.
Right. Okay, sweetheart. Who else? Mary.
Venerable Robina, thank you so much for the session tonight. That PDF.
I think Mary's Yamantaka. That voice is unique voice. You've got Yamantaka voice, Mary. Be very happy.
Oh, my sisters think it's a very bossy, loud voice.
It is a bossy, loud voice, and Yamataka is very bossy and very loud. So come on, talk to me. What's the question?
That inclusive PDF document you were talking about.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to that. Is that something that's going to be available to?
Well, of course it is. That's what I'm telling you about it for. I sent it to Nina.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll give it to everybody.
Okay.
There's one for your phone and one for your tablet, whichever you prefer.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't clear.
And Centra will have it, so you can use it as a basis for discussion, all of you. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good, darling, good. Yes, of course. Yes, people, somebody else. And one of the things in the initiations is called when you see, you got these two prayers that are in this document. One is to renew our bodhisattva vows. It's a very short prayer, about 12 or 14 lines, and it's really auspicious. I'm never sure it's a commitment, but I put it in a list there as if it were, because you renew your bodhisattva vows every time you say it. And it's the same prayer that you repeat after the Lama when they give the bodhisattva vows in the tantric initiations, which Khensa Rinpoche will do. So it's there. So it's marvelous to do it 3 times. And Rinpoche always has a little motivation for it. And then there's the other one, which is the tantric vows. And it's curious because you're not saying any of the vows in the tantric one. It's the prayer of renewing your commitment to the 5 Buddha families. And there are 19 things there. And there's commentary on that by both Lama Zopa and Alex Berzin. You're keeping your commitment to keep these commitments of the 19 commitments to the 5 Buddha family. And they're very delicious again. Just by reading them, you get the understanding of it. And the fact of the matter is, this is why the 6 session guru yoga practice was written, because 17 of those are kept simply by doing the 6 session guru yoga. But when you know what they are, you're really happy to do it because you're keeping 17 of the 19 commitments of the 5 Buddha families, and it explains it. And the other 2 are the commitment to keep on your person a dorji and a bell. And so in the very end, on the last page, is this picture that the Tibetans have put together of all the different instruments and things. One Lama said you probably need a pickup truck to put all the things you're committed to carry around, dorjis and bells and skulls and this and thigh bones. There's so many things. So you have a picture of them all, and you keep your commitments by having that. So you do it as a credit card and stick it in your wallet, and you have it on your person all the time. Otherwise, you've got to carry your dorji and bell around with you. But even just that one, knowing these 19 commitments, and the prayer that keeps your tantric vows is the repetition of these 5 of the 19, the keeping the vow, the commitment to the 5 Buddha families. So it's knowing just a few things you need to know, but it becomes rich for you. Are we communicating here? Any other questions? And if you're not going to take it, then aspire, one day may I be ready to take. Aspire every day. May I be ready to take this empowerments, And for these lamas, you need to check up carefully. But also, I kind of got confidence in this system. I've got, there's all, lamas over Lama Yeshe, they've got their lamas, and they've got their peers who have got the same lamas. So it's like a big family. And somehow, as one person said to me, if this is one of the lamas of Geshe Sharab and she is committed to Geshe Sharab, then good enough for her. That's how I feel about some of my lamas, Other people don't. They just like to have one and that's it. I've got a whole bunch of them. This Geshe here, my philosophy lama, this one there, that one there. It's good to have many. And then you practice seeing them all as the Buddha. And that takes time. Because you see, this really takes time because what we see is a human being. And so, of course, we say, oh, Dalai Lama, wow, he must be a Buddha. But there's another Lama who picks his nose and is cross-eyed and stumbles over his words. Oh, he can't be a Buddha. He makes you miserable. We're so pathetic. We just base it on attachment, You can't tell who is a Buddha. Just because a person makes you feel good doesn't mean he's a Buddha. So you've got to check their qualities, check their credentials, check their mind, check their students, check their reputation. Then you commit. Then you practice. You can have your favorite lamas. Of course, we all need one of them. Your root lama, as they say. Your mummy lama, for sure. But you can have many others. And in your training, in your practice, you imagine all of them as different aspects of the same Dharmakaya. It's a really good practice. We have to understand it intellectually. And this gets all to the trouble as well. When you hear about lamas who go and jump on girls and have bad reputation, people freak out and all that kind of thing. Well, there's one of my lamas, I'll tell you about this. One of my lamas, one of my first lamas after Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa. Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, when they started the centers, the FPMT centers, they really wanted their students to have the Dharma, to have teachers. So normally in most of the traditions, the Lama who has a center, he'll only invite his lamas or his own disciples. But Lama Yeshe decided he'd just invite, Geshes from the same monastery as him. So the very first Geshe he invited, in fact, a student of his own root Lama, a fellow disciple of Trijang Rinpoche, Geshe Khalsang Gyatso. He was the very first Lama. And he was sent to the center in England, Manjushri Institute, in 1977. The very first of the Geshis. Now there's about 50, I think. And so he eventually took, diverged in his own direction. He went against His Holiness. He does the Shugden practice. He took Lama Center, and there's a big schism, I was there at the time. It was very painful. The worst time of my life, actually. It was very, very painful, like a war zone. Lama Zopa told us at the time, it's very powerful for my mind. He said at the time, this is the result of breaking our third root tantric vow. Speaking the faults, as how Rinpoche puts it, speaking the faults of your Dharma brothers and sisters. Your Vajra brothers and sisters. And I can't tell you how powerful that was for me from back at that time, because the one thing we love to do most in centers is talk about each other and complain and gossip and criticize. It is the worst, the worst thing we can ever do, which can destroy us and destroy the community, and it destroys our vows and destroys the connection with the Lama, Lama Zopa said this is the result of that. This huge, painful schism. And probably from past lives, not present life, Huge. It blew my mind, that. This is the result of breaking your third root tantric vow. Speaking the faults of your Vajra brother. And a Vajra brother and sister, not just a Dharma brother and sister, a Vajra brother and sister is the one who's taken initiation from the same Lama, Very, very powerful. So I don't care if you fight with each other, but don't talk behind backs. This is keep the mouth shut. It's so powerful. And this center will flourish, and your practice will flourish, I promise you. Why did I say that? Why did I say that? Oh, yeah, the Geshe Lama construct. Sorry, Geshe Kosang Gatso. So I took initiations from him. I considered him one of my lamas. So there he is, splitting away from His Holiness, going against His Holiness, taking Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa Center. Right? It's kind of heavy, isn't it? So I'm thinking, well, he's one of my lamas. What am I going to do? And this is where we have to really be intelligent and think about it carefully. And that's where we have to understand the teachings. This is not like we think in the West, I promise. So that when you even understand the Bodhisattva teachings, forget the tantric teachings, without understanding even the Bodhisattva teachings, this makes no sense. Because we assume if a person behaves badly, they must be bad. That's it. We assume that. But when you understand the Bodhisattva teachings, the point about a bodhisattva is they've been through the renunciation series of practices. They've given up delusions. They've given up harming others. They live in their vows. They've probably got realization of emptiness by now. They've gone to the bodhisattva path. They've got bodhicitta. And the point about them, they're beyond delusions. You've got to realize it's the high-level bodhisattvas. They're so committed to benefit sentient beings that they will do anything to benefit sentient beings. So then this is why you hear all these stories, about bodhisattvas, what they do and don't do. So we have to understand logically how it is possible that a person can do something negative with a pure motivation. That does not exist in our culture. We don't like that. But if you understand the teachings properly, even the 3 levels of vows, the first two levels, the first level of vows, don't kill, don't steal, these are no wriggle room there. It is simply the most fundamental level. You control your body and you control your speech. That's it. You don't harm others. And so the bodhisattva vows are radically different. They still don't harm others. And this is why you read the Bodhisattva vows. Alex Person's got a very clear commentary in those notes you're going to get, and so has Geshe Kosang, Courtin Rinpoche, very clear. The point about a Bodhisattva vow is it's still about behavior. Vows are only about behavior. They're not about mind. They're only about behavior, body and speech. So the Bodhisattva vow is still don't this and don't that. But what makes you break it, in the first level, you break it by doing it. The second one, the Bodhisattva, you break it based on the motivation. And you even have a vow in the Bodhisattva vows to break a pratimoksha vow if it is for the sake of sentient beings. You have to know that clearly. And it's logical if you think about it. So there's this Lama, whom I'm devoted to, seeing as the Buddha, taking my root Lama's center and going against His Holiness and abusing His Holiness, So much stuff to make your mind go crazy. Many of the students at that time, there were like 80 students at the center. It was a very painful time. When you can't put this together, people go crazy. You know? So when you understand logically that there can be beings who are beyond delusions, and therefore they can do and will do things that look harmful, but totally based on virtue and wisdom. We have to understand that logically. Otherwise, it's too confusing. So you hear all these stories, you know. I remember one story I love to tell about when my mother met Lama Yeshe, you know. I wanted her to meet him. And I was in Melbourne at one time when Lama was doing something, doing some things at Kara Institute. And I wanted my mother to, you know, she decided she'd do a party to, you know, to raise money for Courtin. I was so happy for her, you know. Of course, she did it for me. And then Lama Zopa showed me how to make momos, you know, so I could do them for the party. Anyway, I wanted my mother to meet Lama, so I took her up to Lama where he was staying. And she had a meeting with him. I wasn't there. But when she came out, I could feel her. She was very kind of distressed, but very touched somehow. And she was quite sort of like confused. And she told me later, he kept looking at, you know, that Yeshe, she'd say. He kept looking at the television while I was talking to him. She was really upset, you know. But what happened was, Lama told me, she poured out her heart, and my mother never poured out her heart to anybody. But she opened up her heart, all about me. He was asking questions. And I mean, we had this very intense relationship, and she loved me, of course. There were seven, she had 7 babies. And she completely became vulnerable to Lama because he's so powerful and so charismatic, you know. She opened up to him, but she felt vulnerable because she kept saying he kept looking at the television. So her ego was really offended when she came out. But the thing is this, then she'd say, that Yeshe. And then she was best friends with my friend Adele Hulse, who wrote Big Love. You know that book, the biography? And Adele and I went to convent together. We went to the same school. So my mum and Adele were real friends, and they'd drink sherry together and gossip, you know? And she'd always say to Adele, oh, that Yeshe. No, I don't like that Yeshe. She didn't mind Zopa. He looked humble, you know, that Yeshe, no. So I think, oh, God, he's criticizing a bodhisattva. My mum, you know. So anyway, I heard this wonderful story about this bodhisattva. This is a regular story, because what happens is you do the renunciation, you get bodhicitta, and then you go from life after life after life, perfecting the 6 perfections in relation to sentient beings. You build up this intense relationship with countless sentient beings over many, many lifetimes. So you've got to hook them. Their key job is to hook you. How come we all like the Dalai Lama? We're not so clever. He has spent lifetimes hooking each of us one at a time by meeting us in certain lives and hooking us. So there are 4 ways in Tantra. There are 4 ways you can, well, 3 of the ones where you use to hook sentient beings. Peaceful, that's the best method. Wrathful, the sick, heavy-duty people need to be wrathful, you know, to grab them by the scruff of their neck. Or one's called controlling, which is you basically seduce them, you know, using attachment energy. So these dudes go from life to life hooking sentient beings, and they want to connect with you. You've got to have a karmic connection. If you don't have a karmic connection with somebody, you won't meet them. You can't help them. You can't lead them to enlightenment. So anyway, this particular story that I heard soon after this thing with my mum. This particular bodhisattva was in some village, and he connected with everybody using peaceful methods. It's the best way. You smile at them and be nice to them, and they all like you. Well, you're guaranteed to meet them again, and they'll like you again. So how come we like the Dalai Lama? Because he used peaceful methods to hook us. But guess why the Chinese can't stand the sight of him? He used wrathful methods, but he still got them. He's got them firmly by the scruff of their neck. And when they're ready, 42 lives' time, he'll drag them to enlightenment. So anyway, this dude in this village, there was one old lady who wouldn't pay attention to him. He couldn't leave her behind. So he had this horse, and he went through her garden, ruining her garden. Well, now she noticed him. He was shouting and yelling and shaking her fist, and he was so happy. He got her. He hooked her. She noticed him. And as the Lama who told the story said, when it comes to connecting with bodhisattvas, it's better to have bad karma with them than none. So you can't tell who anybody is. There's a saying in Tibetan, you don't know who anybody is, so don't judge. So Mr. Trump could easily be a Buddha manifesting. And this is not a joke. But our small, miserable, pathetic little minds can't bear the thought of it. You understand? I mean, we're so childish. I mean, they tell these endless stories of these wrathful beings, you know, being holy beings. You read, especially you read some of those stories back in the days in India, the great Mahasiddhas. These maniacs doing maniac things. Like, wasn't it Talopa? I was confused which one. Which one cooked the fish? Is that Marpa or Milarepa? No, Milarepa or, no, Talopa or Naropa. Who was the disciple? I don't ever know. Does anybody know? You know, one of them was a disciple. And the first time he saw his, I think it was Marpa, he was this maniac fisherman killing fish, you know. But he had pure view. And Milarepa, his guru Marpa, was terrible to him, beating him, abusing him, chucking him out of the teachings. So we don't know who any Buddha is, you know. We don't know. It's really so true. So when you understand those teachings, when you understand it's possible to have virtue and wisdom and therefore do whatever you do out of this insane compassion to drag sentient beings to enlightenment, then for me it's not complicated for this Geshe. I leave him in my merit field. So I say to myself, am I clairvoyant? No. Could he be a Buddha? Yes. End of discussion. So he's in my merit field, no drama. I leave him there. Do you understand my point? End of discussion, no anguish. It's logical. So my mind, and who is and this is the point, who is the beneficiary of that pure view? Me. That's the bottom line. But in the West, we're so vindictive. You can't behave like that. They've got to be evil. We don't realize what we're doing to ourselves. Doesn't mean you can't have justice and bring people to court and things, of course. We've got to have a bigger view, you know. So Geshe Kelsang Gyatso is in my merit field. There it is. Very simple. He's the Buddha for me. That's it. Comfortable. My mind's comfortable. Do you understand? But choose your guru very carefully. Do your market research properly. Do your due diligence. Really check carefully, and then commit. You know, and then you get all the benefit. I promise, all the benefit. Yes, come on, darling. Who's got a question? Yes, Yella. What is this, sweetheart?
Venerable, the question is, Venerable, I don't really have a Lama. How can one change that if they are not near a Buddhist center?
Okay, in the old-fashioned days, you know, if you didn't have Zooms and computers, which we have now, the only way to meet teachers, you either read a book or you go somewhere. And even that, the book is always the first point. Many people meet their lamas from reading their books. They think, this is a person I want to meet. So you just keep, sweetheart, you have to keep, just the way the world is now with this Zoom. I mean, look at this. People from all over the world coming to this little meeting here. Look, 36 people from all over the world coming to this meeting. How incredible. But there's so much opportunity these days to go to marvelous teachings from amazing lamas. You go around, you literally do your market research. You go, you check this one, you check that one, until you start to develop a sense of affinity with a particular style, a particular teacher. If you keep going and you want this path, honey child, you will find. Read books, go to teachings, go here, go there, check on Zoom, you will find. If you really want, I promise you. You really will. Just persevere. Yes, Scarlett. Scarlett, yes, speak to me.
Sorry. Hello, Venerable.
Hello, sweetheart.
Just trying to piggyback on Brian's question. Is it possible to, like, if it's impossible for me to connect with a teacher, but there is a teacher that I really like, I have an affinity for, is it wrong for me to, in my head, hold him as my teacher and I
Is it
listen?
wrong for you to do what, sweetheart?
Is it wrong for me to hold him as my teacher and listen to his teachings
I can't hear what she's saying. Is it wrong to do? Hang on a sec. Is it wrong to do what?
Is it wrong for me to hold him as my teacher, because I can't simply go to where he's at? I just
But
can't.
what do you mean? I just said before, you can find anyway. Why would it be wrong for you to like a particular teacher that you meet on Zoom or in a book? I don't understand why you would even think that would be wrong. Why would you
I
think
guess
it's wrong?
I think in my head, because we haven't had a connection. He hasn't given me permission for me to think of him as.
You don't need a person's permission to like them. You then, if you want to eventually become confident that they're one of your teachers, a really auspicious thing to do is to go to meet them or write to them and request them. That's really nice to do that. But you don't need anybody's permission to like someone. That's ridiculous. That's your job.
So a recommendation would be to like write and say, could I be
You
your
keep checking, you keep listening to these teachings. Don't be sentimental about it. Don't be emotional. You keep learning, you keep studying, you keep practicing, you keep checking. And when you are confident and when the time is right, unless you go to see that person, you would write them and request them very humbly, would you please be my teacher? And then see what happens.
I understand. Okay.
Okay, darling?
Yeah,
Good,
thank you.
sweetheart. Someone else. Yeah? Time to go home otherwise. Something else. Okay, so yeah, so then I want to say those few words to you, okay? So just be intelligent, don't be emotional, don't be attached. You know, attachment just ruins everything. Attachment, I mentioned this one time before and I'll talk about it again. Because you're opening your heart to somebody, you know, the lamas, your lama. Lama is a word for spiritual teacher. Then sometimes because we also have attachment, of course we have attachment in some way. We want them to see you. We want them to see you, say your name. You want them to look, oh, he didn't look at me today. Oh, you feel so proud because he did this today. We're all little girls and boys, want to be loved and seen. But sometimes the attachment can be kind of berserk, you know, like so-called sexual attachment. And that just destroys your mind. It's kind of demented, you know. And I mean, I have many stories. You become obsessive, completely fanatic, obsessive, people stalking their lamas. I mean, you can go crazy and you'll go mad. So you've got to be watching your attachment, be intelligent, you know, be sensible. And then, and that's what, with all attachment, we've got to control our thoughts, control the mind, control it, and learn to distinguish between devotion and attachment. But we're so childish and ridiculous, we can't tell the difference. So we better learn the difference by studying the mind, you know, and then work rigorously on our minds, rigorously working on our mind to give up attachment. It's just pathetic. And stop all the fantasies and the rubbish, you know, the obsessiveness. I mean, and it can happen because these lamas can be very powerful beings. If we have a strong karmic connection, it can really throw our minds, you know. And other people, I mean, I had strong, intense aversion. I mean, I couldn't even look at Lama Zopa. I couldn't even be around him. I was so shaken, you know. You understand? So the power of the Lama and our connection with them can bring up many of our delusions. We've got to watch it carefully, be intelligent, you know. I couldn't even look at Lama Zopa. I couldn't even be in his presence. I'd be so distressed. Get out of the room as quickly as possible. I can be devoted from a distance. I feel much better about that, you know. You understand? The last time I was in Santa Fe, when Mummy Max was here too, in 2015, I think. No, the last time, years ago when Roger came. I had a meeting with him. I had to ask questions about this death book. I was so demented. I get so out of control, you know. It's really strange how you can be around the lamas. One time, one of my friends said she suddenly found herself sitting in the back seat of Lama Zopa's car. She didn't know how she got there, and all the people looking at her. What are you doing here? You know, she's kind of driven by this craziness. That's how I'm around Lama Zopa. For me, just keep distance. It's the only way to be. You know, I can be. Many people can say that. Some people can say that. It's very interesting. So they bring up lots inside you. We've got to watch it. Be careful, especially attachment. It's just rubbish, you know. And of course, you would never tell the Lama. That's completely disgusting. It's your own problem. You understand, people? And I've heard many crazy stories of people really out of their brains, you know. To be really watching our minds and try to understand what devotion means. It's not sentimental. Believe me, it's not sentimental. It's not attachment. It's a far more refined state of mind. It's related to pure view. You know, that's what it is. That means, you know, too, if you read the 50 verses of Guru Devotion, I mean, it's shocking for us in the West. I know the very first time I was connected to Lama Yeshe, I was very devoted, but I didn't know how to behave. I had no idea. When he walked in the room one time, I'd have sat there like a pig. You know, I didn't know he was supposed to stand up and be polite. I mean, its reason was common sense. You'd stand up for anybody. I didn't know how to behave, you know. And you read the 50 verses of Guru Devotion, it really gives, it's very medieval, but it really gives you an idea because behavior is important, you know. So with me, with my lamas, all these many lamas, I would never open my mouth, ever even open my mouth. I know people who argue with their lamas, who vomit out all the thoughts they feel, that is vomit out whatever word they think, vomit. I mean, it is so shocking. I would never even open my mouth. Lama Zopa, Lama Yeshe, never, never once. You develop this incredible real respect for them. You know, it's not sort of like neurotic. It's really useful. Your behavior in relation to the Lama has to be kind of perfect because behavior is important. Are we communicating here? And so the Lamas are so humble, like Lama Yeshe. Yeshe is so humble, you know, so regular. So because he relaxes and acts ordinary, we tend to act ordinary as well, which doesn't mean you should run around kind of prostrating to him along the road. You can if you like. Like one time in England, London, in a really busy Chinese restaurant, 20 students, and Lama Yeshe was there, and then Song Rinpoche came in, and Lama Yeshe leapt up and did full prostrations in the middle of the Chinese restaurant, you know. I mean, it's completely spontaneous, probably. You can be like that, fine, but so you have to be adjusting your behavior accordingly. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I mean, when I'm around the lamas, I could never be accordingly. I didn't know how to be. I was just so anxious about it. I'd rather keep distant, you know. Do you understand? I never opened my mouth, never once. Keep the mouth shut. Best. Unfortunately, because of the other side, Rinpoche tried so hard sometimes to just get me to be normal. I couldn't, you know, it was too intense. So this time in Santa Fe, when I asked about the book, and I had to these questions, and I had to record the answers so I could get it ready for the book. I couldn't even listen to it. It was so intense. I had to get someone else to transcribe it because I was shouting. Roger was laughing at me. I was just so intense. I was shouting, repeating this ridiculous question. Paul Rinpoche just kept quietly talking through my craziness, you know. I couldn't even transcribe it because I couldn't better hear my own voice. I had to get someone else to do it for me. I cut out all the rubbish bits, you know. Ooh. You understand? Anyway, people. Where, darling? What's the story? What's the question? Joey, what's the question, darling? And Brad as well, yes. Ask me the questions. You, Joey,
Yes,
first, sweetheart.
hello, Venerable.
Hello, darling.
If my brain and my mind is not comprehending a lot of these
I need you to be talk
teachings.
fairly carefully, Joey. Can you speak a bit more
Okay.
clearly, sweetheart?
Yes, yes. If my brain and my mind is not comprehending most of these teachings tonight,
Of course, that's perfectly fine, Joey. It's if you haven't heard this stuff before, doesn't matter, sweetheart. So what's the question?
The question is, it still planting positive seeds?
Of course it is. If you like this path and you feel it's your path, then you take it all one step at a time and see where it takes you, sweetheart, according to your own pace and your own capacity. Okay?
Yes.
Good,
Thank
darling.
you.
Thank you, sweetheart. Hello. Yes, Brad. Hello, Brad. Brad, unmute, sweetheart.
Sorry, my bad.
Okay, talk to me.
My question was, you were talking earlier about deities and the five families. I'm
Oh,
wondering,
the five Buddha families, yes.
Yeah, is there a particular book we can read more on these families so we can, because you said
I'm
it might be
sure,
nice to connect to one of these.
I don't really know where there could be, but I know there's one book that possible, one book that Wisdom Publications has published, which is all about the different Buddhas. And the author, I can't remember the name of the book, but the author is John Landau, Landaw. And he talks all about these different Buddhas and what they mean. And he very well might talk about the five Buddha families. Yes. Okay. Yeah, Brad? Brad? He disappeared. Okay. Come back later, Brad, when you're ready. I can't hear you, darling. So anybody else got questions before we finish? But also, Brad, I might just extract from these notes these stories about the five Buddha families, and perhaps I can send them to you. So I've got your email, sweetheart. So I'll do that for you. He's disappeared now. Anybody else before we finish? So, okay. So if there's anything useful, I hope there's something useful tonight, okay? Be positive, you know, be optimistic, be confident, be clear. Yeah, keep moving, never give up. So we'll become like these holy beings who are showing us the way. Jangchub, Semtok, Rinpoche, Make, Panam, Ke Gyuchig, Nyampa, Mepa, Yang, Gong Ne, Gongju, Pelba Shog, there it is in this first one now. Due to these merit, Gewa Di, Nudo Dag, Lama Sange, Drup Gyone, Droa Chikyang Malupa, Dei Sala, Gurpa Shog. And then this one again, may the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish but increase more and more. And now His Holiness Dalai Lama, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, to the incomparably kind Tenzin Gyatso, I beseech, may all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And now the swift prayer, written by His Holiness, create the cause for others to come back quickly. We need to learn so we can become just like him and our other lamas. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lozang, which means Tsongkhapa, of course, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You are the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace, such a great loss. So nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. And I keep promising I'll do it, and I will. I'm going to send Venerable Dondrup, do it right. I go back to my room right now, this PDF of the eulogy of Lama Zopa that I put together with all the lovely pictures, so people can all have it. They put on the chat box of people. It's very inspiring to read about Rinpoche, that's all. He's such a holy, but the perfect example of this path, you know. Yeah. Okay, people. Thank you, sweethearts. Thank you, everybody. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving. Thank you, darling.